We're delighted, we're excited about this. We're glad you've joined us for this pilot that's scheduled to go from today through the end of May. So like all Project ECHO sessions, we're going to start on time and end on time. My name is Sandy Root Elledge. I'm the Associate Director of the Wyoming Institute for Disabilities. And truly welcome from everyone here. We'll go through and have some introductions. Canyon, why don't we start with you and we'll go around the table.
Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Canyon Hardesty. I'm the Coordinator of Community Education here at the Wyoming Institute for Disabilities.
And what do you plan to bring to ECHO and gain from ECHO? I
plan to hopefully bring the infrastructure for ECHO so that it actually works next time around. And I hope to gain from ECHO just a continued opportunity to learn from the experts in the field and hopefully improve student outcomes and related to AT.
Hello, my name is John Paul Harris. I'm the Wyoming AIM Clearinghouse Project Coordinator. I will bring in expertise of AT knowledge and assessment and also accessible instruction materials to Project ECHO.
Hi, my name is Darcy Regan, and I'm a speech-language pathologist here at Windwater. I plan to bring my augmentative alternative communication expertise. And I also plan to learn as much from you all as hopefully you can learn from me. And as a result of ECHO, I feel that it can hopefully decrease some of the window time, travel time we spend on the road, but also give you the supports that you need and know that we are available for on-site, in-person consultations and assessments.
I'm Mary Jo Cooley Heidecker, and I'm a new assistant professor in the Department of Communication Disorders here. My training is both as an audiologist and a speech-language pathologist, so I'll bring knowledge and experience working in a variety of settings, including schools, before I went back and became a professor. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you all, getting to know people in Wyoming and what the issues are that you're facing.
I'm Wendy Alameda, the project coordinator for water, and I will bring in my AT experience and knowledge and also my classroom experience that I've had working with children from birth to 21. So hopefully we can use some of those experiences to assist in our case presentations.
I'm Janine Cole, and I'm the Supervisor for Outreach Services for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing with the Wyoming Department of Education. My background is I'm a teacher of the deaf, and I feel like I bring expertise in working with students with hearing loss and also a knowledge of sign language and working with students to learning to listen. And I'm just excited about the project and learning from others about a praise for it.
I'm Jennifer Heiler. I'm also with the Wyoming Department of Education, outreach consultant, deaf and hard of hearing, also a teacher of the deaf, and hopefully can bring a little bit of that knowledge to the table. But you know, assistive technology is ever changing, and it's a huge part of our what we work with our students. So I think just learning more about it is always exciting. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
I'm Tom James. I'm the IT guy here. Try to keep things running, hopefully. That was one thing we were just talking about before we started. If we should disappear all of a sudden, just stay in the meeting room. We'll be back. It may take us 5 minutes or so, but the hardware we currently have isn't the greatest, but we're getting by with it.
I'm Bill McLean, Executive Director of the Wyoming Institute for Disabilities and a psychologist. I am an administrative support person for the project. Hopefully be able to share the enthusiasm throughout the university for the project and be successful in getting new hardware for Tom in the long run, and maybe a bigger room, because this is filling up. So happy to be here.
And I'm Mary Ginsel. I'm an occupational therapist, and my past experience has been with adults with developmental disabilities, and I'm learning about a new area here to join the project.
Thanks, Mary. Let's go to our trainers, which would be the other hub. I have listed that we had have a second hub in Lander. That will be when Barb Block is available to join us, as well as Amy Rushforth, and neither of them are available today. So we'll be connecting to that hub on other days. So let's go to our trainers. Gail?
Hi. I was about to say good morning, but it is just past noon here in Oregon. My name is Gail Bowser. I'm the lead trainer on the project. I'll be bringing my expertise as a teacher who has worked a great deal with assistive technology of all different sorts. And I can't wait to learn about how we can help each other in this particular project of sharing information and building capacity. It's the thing I'm most passionate about, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to participate. So thanks for having an Oregonian.
We're happy to have you as part of our team and our planning team, and thanks for all you've brought to it so far, Gail. Scott, I see you're there.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Marfilius. My background is also in special education and have worked with assistive technology for quite a while. Primarily, my strong passion is in the area of computer access and then also literacy, so supports in the area of reading and writing. I do add math into the academics aspect as well, but primarily the focus on the literacy aspect. And I'm also really looking forward to, as Gail had said, being able to collaborate in this type of format and be able to build the capacity of local individuals to deliver and implement assistive technology, just to be able to share.
Great, thanks for joining us, Scott. And Penny is not there, correct? Okay, and let's go to people around the state. Let's start with Bighorn 1.
We're on. Hi. I'm Chris Victor. I'm in Bighorn 1. And with me is Alicia Summers. She's one of our special education teachers. My background is in speech-language pathology, and I bring no expertise but a love of learning. So let's see what we can do for kids.
Thanks, Chris. Peg, in in Park 6. Is Peg there?
Peg, we can't hear you.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Peg Monteith, I'm the Special Education Director in Park 6, Cody, and I'm excited about partnering with WIND on this opportunity to do some great things for kids around the state, and excited about the format that we'll be involved in. So I don't think I right now have a whole lot to offer other than just some enthusiasm. So hopefully that will help.
We're glad you've joined us, and we're glad you've been available to us as we've planned this. Thanks. Are
You're welcome.
Any of your other colleagues from your district with you? No?
They talked to me this morning, and they were drowning in a couple of other projects that they have going on. I think some evaluations and things, and appealed to my being able to represent them today because they just couldn't do it. So
okay, I just didn't want to interrupt them.
Yeah, nope.
Okay, thanks. Natrona, Eric?
AT experience, mostly in inclusion settings. And I'm eager to find out everything from all of you with all of our different areas.
Great, thanks, Eric. And I want to thank Eric and Chris, and then when we get to Casey, for joining us in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago to plan this. Sweetwater, Katie?
Hi.
Katie, hold on. There you go. We just needed to unmute your audio.
Oh, is that better?
Much better.
Okay. My name's Katie Harmon. I'm a resource teacher here and also the chairperson for assistive technology for Sweetwater 2. I have classroom knowledge and experience in a wide range of special education, and I hope to bring the ideas that people share to my district and help students in my district.
Great, thanks. And Fremont 1, Casey?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Casey Widhelm, I'm a case manager for special education and AT coordinator here. But really, I'm just part of a larger team. I more computer access, speech language pathologists, and occupational therapists and physical therapists do most of the other evaluation stuff. And I'm just excited to be a part of this team and to improve best practices within not only our district, but the whole state.
Great, thanks Casey and welcome. Teton 1, Olivia?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Teton County, I am the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ESL teacher. I do inclusion and support teachers within an inclusion setting, and I'm also the district AT coordinator. Probably the biggest expertise, I got plenty of students we can look at, and then try and look at some problem solution for those. And then many of the things is all the questions that come to me all the time, I don't always know the answers, so that's why I love seeing all these lovely faces so that I can at least access a lot of that information from all of you.
Thanks Olivia and welcome. We'll be glad to have you present many cases. Molly in Sublet 1?
I'm Molly Hanson. I enjoy AT with particular interest with students with severe impairments or multiple impairments. I'm glad to be on the team and just gain ideas from everyone.
Great, thanks and welcome. Sheridan 1, Ann?
Hi guys, my name is Annie Bowers and I'm a speech language pathologist here in Sheridan, and we are in the beginning stages of implementing an AT team for our district, and so we're pretty excited about learning from everybody. And we also have here Jamie Clifford, she's our compliance facilitator. And then Tracy Turk, our special ed director, will be here in just a little while to join us as well. So just lots of learning and anything that we can help to implement with. So we're excited.
Great, thanks Annie and welcome. And Kellen from Lincoln 2.
Can you hear me? Okay, I've just been reading over all the ECHO information the last couple days. And our school district the last 2 years has taken this Friday off due to state basketball and some other things. So I don't have any other members of our AT team, but I'm hoping in the future I will. And we've had an AT team, as many of you know, for 7 or 8 years now in our district, and we're always trying to expand our capabilities within our district, and we've been excited to be able to work more at the state level, and hopefully we can bring a little bit of some of our experiences with our students here. And we have lots of unique kids who have come into our schools the last 2 years, especially with a lot of AT needs. So we're excited to discuss some of those students.
Great, thanks Kellen, and thanks for joining us. We're glad to have you as part of it. We're glad to have everyone. Do we have I haven't checked and don't see, do we have anyone else from WDE?
Yeah, this is Leslie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. Okay.
Yeah, this is Leslie Van Orman. I supervise the outreach for vision related to vision impairments, and I am excited to be part of this process and to support you with any vision-related information or resources that you may need.
Great, thanks, Leslie. Billy or Christy? They're not here, okay. Anyone else from WDE? All right, anyone else on the phone or anyone that we haven't talked to yet? Okay, thanks again. Really great. I've said it, but we're very excited to start this. Today will be orientation. We will be doing more talking than you, but please join in if you have questions or concerns or thoughts that you want to share. I'll start with the orientation and a background, and then Canyon's going to go through a lot of the details about how the case presentations will work. And those will start next week, so we'll be excited for that as well. Canyon, if you could go to the next slide, that would be great. We start echo sessions by disclosing any conflicts of interest or any issues. We don't have any at this point, unless anyone else has something they need to share. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. I believe the PowerPoint was sent to you as well. Oh, I see. So it's different.
Yeah,
okay,
so
sorry.
look at this one, not it.
Sorry, I was
Not
looking
at
at the
this
wrong
one.
screen and I couldn't figure out
Sorry.
where I was. So the Project Echo objectives, and this is Project Echo, University of Wyoming. And for the orientation today, we hope you will be able to understand the Echo model and how we're going to use it for assistive technology, identify the core components of Project Echo UW, apply video etiquette to the sessions, and identify the core components of a case-based presentation, the way we're going to use it in assistive technology. 2 slides, that would be great. The mission of Project Echo, the original Project Echo, and I know a lot of you have heard this several times, so I'm going to just really briefly give background information because we do have some new people. It was developed out of the University of New Mexico, and the mission is to expand the capacity to provide best practice care for common and complex diseases in rural and underserved areas, and to monitor the outcomes of that care. There's 4 key components to the Project Echo methodology, and anyone who has heard Dr. Aurora speak will know that he always says, if you're going to remember one slide, this is the one. And it is that we use technology to leverage scarce resources. We improve outcomes by reducing variation in care or treatment or interventions and sharing best practices. We share case-based learning and co-management of patients with specialists, so it's a model of learning by doing. And we maintain HIPAA, and in our case, FERPA compliance and the monitoring of outcomes. What Project Echo has done is they've held numerous clinic sessions. They have treated over 5,000 patients, and they have delivered over 52,000 hours of continuing medical education units. And their outcomes, what they have been able to demonstrate is an increases in clinician abilities to treat patients with hepatitis C, increased abilities to, they have self-reported their increased abilities, and then they've reported increases in self-efficacy, and the actual patient outcomes are better through Project Echo than patients treated at the University of New Mexico Hospital. And it's important to understand what Echo is and what it is not. It is not a direct care clinic. This is not telemedicine. It is educational and not merely consultative. And we build expertise at the primary care level to safely and effectively manage common and complex conditions. And then bring specialty care within to communities. I was I'll give a brief background on the assistive technology legislation. I kept this in, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I really want to be talking about ECHO. As I think all of you know, there is an Assistive Technology Act. It was amended in 2004. And really the purpose of the act is to provide assistive technology to persons with disabilities so that they can more fully participate in community, and then to level the playing field with other members of their community. The act provides, if you go ahead, Kenyon, definitions. I won't step through that, but you have that in your PowerPoint, and you could certainly have access to the AT Act. It also defines services as well within the act. And then IDEA, and thanks to Gail, these are her slides. IDEA also provides for assistive technology for students in public education. And I think we'll skip by this, but you have this information. I think you all know that IEP teams need to consider whether the child requires assistive technology devices and services, and that the 4 outcomes of that consideration process are that AT is not required, it is required, and the team knows what tools should be implemented. AT is required, but trials are required to determine what tool, or that more information is needed. And then we have, through the Assistive Technology Act, that's how the water program was initiated. So we are legislated and mandated through the AT Act. In 2004, we were designated by the governor to be the state's lead agency for the AT Act. The AT Act for the AT Act programs, there are 2 goals. One is acquisition. So acquisition of devices and services, but we cannot actually give out devices through the legislative funding. So we have 2 programs. One is a financial assistance program, and another is device reutilization. The second goal is access to assistive technology information on devices and services. And we conduct a number of discrete activities. I think most of you are familiar with those. But we do device demonstrations and loans, provide training and technical assistance, public awareness, information and assistance, coordination and collaboration, that's with state agencies or other states. We work to make changes in state policies and procedures, and then to conduct one activity related to transition, and that's transition through the lifespan each year. We have a number of associated programs, and the one I want to talk a little bit about is the last one, the professional learning community and assistive technology. Most of you are members of that, but I just want to touch briefly on that. As you can see, we have 21 members. Those with the pink star are from the first cohort, and those with the blue star from the second cohort. And we're just delighted to have been working with everyone over the last 2 years. Those of you who have heard me talk about the PLC know that they have been prolific in what they have accomplished, and that's why we could build ECHO, is from their successes, from the fact that they have built a community, they're working together, and as Dr. Aurora would say, the idea of a community behind that works and people working together is what can make ECHO successful. They have a number of accomplishments. There's some of them there. And then they formed some work groups, and one of the work group is this pilot project. So Project ECHO, well, it's now University of Wyoming. One of the things we're addressing is the reach of AT in Wyoming. You can see there that while there's been significant efforts, there's still not a lot of use of assistive technology. Now, some of this, everyone is pretty much believes that there's a reporting issue, that not all AT that's used is reported. However, this is still pretty low number. And Gail, if you go to the next slide, just so I make sure. Gail, would you talk a little bit about the national perspective and how service delivery has been designed and approached?
Sure. I always like to talk about the national perspective from sort of a historical perspective, probably because I've been doing it for a really long time. But I think it's also significant to recognize that when we first started to do assistive technology work, we were doing it with our most significantly impacted kids. We were looking at assistive technology for students with vision impairments, hearing impairments, and often multiple physical disabilities, or a combination of all of those, because it was clear to us that many of those kids knew things and were learning things that we couldn't even recognize because of the nature of their disabilities. So in most places, I think, in the country who started assistive technology early in the history of IDEA, we used a very much medical consultation model. And when I first started working in assistive technology, that's what I did. I sent kids to a clinic in Portland, which is a 3-hour drive from here. So we weren't able to do that with very many kids. We sent our most significantly impacted kids, and we got good expert recommendations that we were at varying levels able to implement in classroom settings. What we began to realize, though, was without some expertise at a local level, we were often not able to implement the recommendations that we got. So schools began to move to actually either employing directly expert consultants in assistive technology, or hiring them as consultants, but on a more local basis. Over time, and particularly when the IDEA requirement to consider assistive technology for every student with a disability was included in the law, which was almost 20 years ago, we began to recognize that part of the problem we were having with some of even our expert recommendations in local districts was that we weren't able to collaborate with the classroom teachers and the people who were being asked to implement on a daily basis the use of assistive technology. So what we've seen in the history of special education services is a more and more distributed model, almost a differentiated model of how we provide AT services. And I strongly believe that we need all 4 of these kinds of services, depending on the needs of the kids and the needs of the environment. Project ECHO, though, is really focused on that collaborative model of services and also the coaching and universal design for learning models. One of the big issues nationally in assistive technology services is how do we include both a student-centered model for assistive technology services and at the same time begin to build capacity for providing assistive technology, particularly I think to our students who primarily have academic disabilities like learning disabilities and high-functioning autism. So that's a big challenge in today's field, and it's one of the reasons that Project ECHO is so important, I think, as a way to pave the way for building capacity in a whole new way with modern technology. As you may have gotten from that last bit of presentation, we're constantly, in these days, in the discussion about how do we balance our direct services, either direct assessment or direct supports to students from expert assistive technology people, with the need for training, school support, and developing resources that that educators can take advantage of without having to have a specialist present. So that's, to me, the the great excitement about Project Echo is it will help us to do that by providing additional school supports and resources.
Great, thanks, Gail. In the goal of Project Echo University of Wyoming now is to increase the capacity of educators to use best practices in assistive technology for the benefit of students. And what we're planning to do is translate that model that was used in health, and it expanded beyond the University of New Mexico, but this will be a trial to see how it works in education and specifically for use in assistive technology. So in doing so, we want to build a capacity for assistive technology. As you know, the pilot project starts today. It'll continue through the end of May. The hubs will have, you know, the expertise, and then the spokes, all of who are in school districts. We're looking at focusing the area. This does not mean you have to limit the cases that you present, but what it did for us is trying to look at how do we focus the resources we're bringing to the table. And so we looked both nationally and within the state at what are the majority of the efforts in assistive technology, and you'll see those there. And then the objectives for our pilot are to assess the feasibility for assistive technology for the model, evaluate the effectiveness of the model for education, to increase capacity for assistive technology in schools, measure learning, and then assess the outcomes of student outcomes. Sorry about that. Outcomes of the use of assistive technology. And now I'll turn it over to Canyon, who's going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts about how we'll be moving forward. But I guess I should ask, does anyone have any questions at this point?
This is Peg. No, thanks.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Well, everybody knows we're going to go ahead and use Zoom. So we're on Zoom. You have the opportunity to either use a video, which most of you have, or a couple of you have joined via call-in. When we talk about the settings, I've gone over this with most of you, but you have an opportunity to adjust what you see and how you see. And what we see here in the room is quite a bit different than hopefully what you'll see in the next coming weeks, because we'll have the Polycom fixed, so you'll actually be able to see the individuals up there. But you guys at the spoke sites have the opportunity to kind of adjust who you see and how you see it. There's a chat feature, and especially during the case-based presentations, we'll be using that quite a bit. You know, if individuals have additional questions or those sorts of things, you're welcome to get that information to us using the chat feature. All of these features can be found on the bottom of your tile view within Zoom. And lastly, I can mute your audio or video, or you can mute your audio and video, and it's up to you guys. So far, it sounds like the audio is working quite well, but you know, if you're in a louder setting, in the next couple of weeks, we will have individuals calling in from airports and conferences and all of those pieces. So we'll make sure, and beaches. So at some point in time.
I want to go to
Right. We just said no pina coladas in the view, so that's good. But it's got quite a bit of flexibility, and so far we've had pretty good luck with the video. So if you have any questions about Zoom, you can shoot them my way. That doesn't mean that I'll be able to answer them, but the University of New Mexico is quite helpful in this regard. Session etiquette, we won't go through all of these slides because there's quite a bit, but we did steal this from the University of New Mexico because we definitely found that during conference type settings, there were just some things that we all know about, but we may forget. So test the equipment well before the sessions. I promise you that Tom and I have been in here for a couple weeks trying to figure this out, but you know, it still is technology and it still gives you hiccups when you want it the least. We'll talk about the ground rules here in a little bit, but this group is already fabulous. You guys have got the agenda, and then mainly when we get to the case presentations, a lot of the driving will go on by our hub facilitator, and for this pilot, it's Sandy Rudelage, so she will drive this bus. We talk about eliminating environmental distractions, limiting body movement. Everybody's doing great, so there's nothing really to talk about. Maintaining confidentiality. This will be key because these sessions are recorded. And so one of the main purposes of this is to bring bring students to the environment, and we want to make sure that we maintain confidentiality. So when we talk about the student presentation, we'll really talk about using de-identified pieces. We want you guys to talk about the student as the student, and limit any other descriptors about them. It's a small state, and we just have to be careful with that. So just as a reminder, everybody who's on the orientation and everybody who's been doing, hearing about this for a while is aware of those. But we know that lots of other people will be coming into your rooms. Just kind of remind them about that confidentiality piece, that we want to keep that. That's pretty key within these sessions. Extend greetings and introductions. And then we do want to, so Chris, or if Annie, if any of your other participants arrive late, please let us know, because we do want to welcome to the session. There are just some other pieces kind of, related to how the video looks. And I think this is the third bullet down here. When we take a supportive approach to people's learning curves, everyone has a different time frame and style for learning. I think this will be really key to us as we move forward. This is a group of individuals that has a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, and in a lot of different areas. And so we understand that as we move forward, when we provide recommendations, we want to make sure we do that in an encouraging, welcoming sort of fashion. Use gentle, supportive approaches to correct misinformation. Nobody's wrong at this table. People have just tried different things. So let's, when we go to, support them rather than correct them. There's some additional pieces about encouraging and gentle nudges. Start on time and end on time. We will respect your time. Sandy did a great job of starting this at 1, and we will be done by 2:30 throughout the duration of the pilot. Your time is very valuable, so we want to respect that. If you have a cell phone call or a pager or any of those sorts of pieces, especially those individuals here in the room, if those are going to happen, we'd like you to leave the rooms just so we don't interrupt the session. We talked about confidentiality. Obviously, that's really key. So we'll make sure that just to continually remind on every session about confidentiality. And then these nevers, I think we all can go ahead and read these and adjust our behavior accordingly. So I know this might seem a little redundant because we did send it out and we would like you to post it, but it does seem to be a critical piece in making sure these sessions are successful. Additionally, typing on keyboards or rustling papers, that was one of the things we didn't realize made a huge difference, and everybody's been really good about that. But sometimes even just flipping through a presentation or typing on your keyboard can come across really loud. So think about that and either mute your line or, refrain from that until after the session's done. We'll talk a little bit about ground rules. We talked a little bit about, a lot about confidentiality and these coaching phrases. When we get to the point where we're talking about these case-based presentations, we want you guys to be as involved and use these coaching phrases and ask your peers questions so that we can get to the bottom of what some of the recommendations may be. And so we provided these coaching phrases were actually provided by Gail, and I put them into the PowerPoint so that everybody has these and any others that you may use on a regular basis. This I think is kind of critically important as we go through. As we're trying to figure out things during the pilot, we kind of decided that the best way is to raise your hand to ask or clarify or support the conversation. So if there are things that you have to say, please raise your hand, and we'll make sure that we're looking through the tiles on our end to make sure that we acknowledge that you have a question, and then Sandy will make sure that she says, Gail, I see that you've raised your hand if there's anything you'd like to contribute to the conversation. Once again, it's really hard to make sure that we get everybody's viewpoints, even using this cool technology, but we want to make sure you have the opportunity to give input, and so we thought we'd make sure that this was established as a ground rule. We'll go through the session schedule. You guys have been provided this session schedule probably in more ways than you ever wanted, but we emailed it out. It's also on the website. And this is subject to change, but these are the didactic presentations under topics that you can expect for each of the sessions throughout the pilot.
And this is, yeah, Gail wanted to talk a little bit about the training. And I would just like to interject that also when you look at the training schedule, if you know of other people that want to join you for a certain topic or whatever, feel free to invite them to the session. People can sit in on sessions. We're just limiting the participation to those of you who have some credentials or coursework or expertise, or you're a PLC member in assistive technology. So Gail, would you like to talk about how you plan to, as the lead trainer, approach the didactic trainings?
Sure. My job in Project ECHO, in addition to participating in the ECHO sessions and learning from the rest of you, and I've got to say I'm really excited about that, but as you may already know, that each ECHO session will have about a half hour of content presentation so that we can all begin to build our skills in assistive technology over time. And one of the challenges of this, of course, is that a half-hour presentation on assistive technology there's a lot to say about assistive technology. So we've been working very hard in the background to develop a list of training topics that we will be providing in blocks of topics throughout the pilot and then throughout next year. So for the pilot this spring, our first, I believe it's 5 weeks, will be focused on tools for writing and strategies for thinking about writing and the use of assistive technology. Then we'll have a 2-part block, April 11th and April 18th, that is going to be reporting on the work of one of the PLC working groups. And then the last bunch of sessions about assistive technology for the pilot will be on communication, both strategies thinking about augmented communication and tools for augmentative communication. And you have the schedule of who all the different presenters will be for that. We'll be adding to our pool of trainers as we work into next year, bringing in more people with national expertise and additional topics. Our initial list of topics was that one you saw on a previous slide. We said 80% of our current efforts will be in reading, writing, communication, accessible instructional materials, access to the environment, and daily living skills and assistive technology for each of those areas. But we really want to invite you to give suggestions for topics that are important to you. One of the things about a pilot is that we're starting out not really knowing what kinds of cases will be coming in to the ECHO clinic, and we really don't want to limit that. But if we see a pattern of, 5 people brought cases that had to do with computer access for kids with physical disabilities, then we have the ability to move those topics around and plan a little differently based on your needs. One of the ways you can tell us your needs now is to take the survey that you see on this slide. It's just a SurveyMonkey survey that asks a few very short questions about the topics that you'd like to see in our didactic presentations with expert trainers from around the country. So I'd appreciate any help you can give me in knowing what's the most important content for those didactic trainings, both for you all who are on the call today and for the people in your service area that you may want to invite to a future ECHO session. think that's about all I got to say about that.
Great, thanks, Gail. We're back to Canyon.
Yeah.
We will be back to Canyon in a moment. She is trying to advance the slide.
Slides. What happened?
Is the mouse moving?
Yep. It's sharing.
Try just clicking on the screen any place.
That's the problem, isn't it? There we go. AT session specifics. So with the exception of this one, and probably a couple that will be adjusting due to availability, you can pretty much expect that every session will have introductions for the first 15 minutes, then the didactic training sessions that Gail spoke a little bit about, and then an opportunity for 3 15-minute case presentations. And we'll talk quite a bit more about this in a little bit, but those case presentations will include student goals, consideration of AT, assessing their needs, device suggestions, implementation strategies, and then we're hoping that individuals will bring cases that they've discussed at the beginning of the pilot back even towards the end of the pilot, just to kind of see where you guys are at with that student, what additional suggestions, and this will be, we'll be able to look you know, longitudinally at the impact of these kids over the course of the next year that we offer this, starting in September. But we do want some of that initial impact stuff for the pilot. Before we start into this discussion about the case-based presentations, what questions does the group have about any of the stuff we've discussed so far? Okay, so elements of the case-based presentation. Gail's got the trainers covered, and then as we said before, the last 45 minutes will be your guys' opportunity to bring cases. We'll go through the form here in a little bit, but elements of a case-based presentation, we want to make sure that that information is brief. You only have 15 minutes to bring forth all of the information that you may have spent years and years kind of compiling on a student, and we really want to make sure that you keep it concise, de-identified, and brief. Our AT specialists here will have a copy of the case, so once that's faxed into us, individuals will have a little bit of an opportunity, the specialists will have an opportunity to review that. So your presentation really gives everybody else an opportunity to hear what they don't have the opportunity to see from those cases. We want to make sure that in those case presentations that you're coming with key elements that relate directly to the primary or concern and the outcome that you want to see with AT. The form walks you through that, but you know, we know that with these cases that these students there's lots of things that may be impacting them. But for the purposes of these case-based presentations, we want you to focus on one, really just one, maybe two areas of concerns, and directly focus on some outcomes, at least for the pilot, to see how this works, right? We want to maintain confidentiality, in case we haven't mentioned that, using terms like individual and student. Don't use any names or other identifiers. The case form does ask you to put grade level, but we really don't want to say this is a student who's in Park 6, who's in this particular school, because we don't want to get you know, anybody in Peg's district in trouble. But we want to make sure that this is an opportunity for lots of individuals to learn from this information, not just the individuals who are able to view these sessions real time. And the best way to do that is to de-identify as much information in the case form and in your case presentation as you can. We don't quite have the infrastructure to have editors to remove that from these sessions, but we'll get there, right? So I'm going to attempt to pull up the actual case presentation form for us to have a discussion about. I will email these to you after the presentation. They will also be posted on the ECHO website for you guys to see. So in order for me to share this, I believe I have to stop sharing my screen and then go back to sharing the actual Google form. So Gail, can you see the case presentation form?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So what we're envisioning for these case presentations is that you guys will all be so excited to present cases that you'll be proposing them throughout the course of the pilot. So you can actually start working on these pieces now and send us cases that you want to present on any of the sessions. You don't have to wait till the week of the session, but you can actually start sending. Okay. You can actually start filling this out and sending it into us right away. We do need on the initial cover form the first and last name, the phone number, fax number, and your email address, as well as the proposed date for case presentation and your preferred time for case presentation. There's all kinds of disclaimers because this is a pilot, but your case presentation times may fluctuate. We may have cases that are presented at the beginning and then again towards the end, but we will confirm those with you when we send back this information. One of the key pieces of this case consultation is that it doesn't establish a relationship between our water staff or any other Project ECHO experts and any student or any local district that we're presenting a case on. So I think that's really key. You're coming to the table to learn from the experts, and then you as the individual in charge of that student or in charge of those recommendations for those students can take the recommendations that you see fit. So this consultation is not telling local districts what you have to do with a student. It's really just a brainstorming activity with lots and lots of people with lots and lots of expertise. But we want to make sure individuals are aware of that, especially because water does provide actual assessments, and that this is not an assessment clinic. It's really just, as Sandy has mentioned, it's just recommendations. So we have that disclaimer on here. As we go through here, we want you guys to give us, we want you guys to make sure that you're keeping the information on who the student is. So at a local level, having the student WISER ID and the ECHO ID match up, but we never want to see any of that information. So on this form, we only want you to enter the date that you filled it out, and then we will provide you a randomized ECHO ID once you send us in these forms. We want you to tell us, is this a new case? And this means a new case for Project ECHO. So most of the cases throughout this pilot will be new cases, except if when you present, we ask you to bring it back, and then we want you to update this information when you bring that case back to present to us. Goes through the primary area of concern. I've got a menu of resources that I will also send out that's actually taken from the Wisconsin program that you can kind of crosswalk into that primary area of concern. But as we mentioned, we would like you to be as specific as possible. We want you also to think about your desired outcome in the area of concern. What are you trying to do with this student? What are, why bring it to the table now? Present level of functioning, as well as the desired outcome of the case presentation. So this actually speaks more to why are you bringing it to ECHO than what you want to do with the student. I don't know why. Current grade level, as well as socioeconomic status. And then to give us a little bit of an idea of the relevant cultural and linguistic information on the student. As we were developing this form with a team of experts, it was decided that we wanted some additional information that may help guide this. There's some check boxes for the student strength as well as disability category. And then it goes down to just talk about setting for AT. Please tell us where the student currently is. And then there's a whole another crosswalk here for the assistive technology that's currently used in the areas of potential concern. And we will provide that to you as well. I don't want to switch back and forth because I know it takes a minute. And then last on this page, we want you to tell us a little bit about the strategies, the accommodations, the modifications that you've tried with this kiddo. And so these would be things that we also want you to, these main bullet points would be part of that initial case presentation, kind of walk through that form with everybody who doesn't have it right in front of them. Additionally, the AT specialists have asked for some additional information in the primary area of concerns. Got a whole nother set of 2 to 3 to 6 page forms that we want you to fill out as well when you send in that case information to us. And then here's your opportunity to write in some background narrative on that particular student. What else do you think it's important for the team to know? Maybe those are IEP goals or medical history. Once again, think about it with the rule of thumb of the need to know. We want to keep that information as de-identified as possible. However, if there are decisions that we can't make without that information, please go through and add that in there.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
I think when people are presenting cases like this, there's a temptation to give a lot of history. You know, this child had a car accident when he was 3 years old and a closed head injury and all kinds of stuff like that. I suspect that for the purposes of these clinics, the historical information would be less valuable than talking about what is currently happening in the school setting and with the area of concern that you've identified. We want to have enough time in these case presentations to be able to really talk about what's really going on and your goals for bringing the case to the ECHO session. So I want to encourage people to do their case presentations with that kind of a thought in mind. What's really important for people to know about this in order to answer the specific question that you're bringing to the session. And I know in my work as a trainer, there's always a temptation to spend a whole lot of time talking about what happened when the child was 3, even though he's 15 now. So I just thought I'd mention that because it is a sort of a common error when we're talking about case presentations. Thanks.
That's great. What are there other questions, or what other questions are there related to this form? And I don't want to spend too much time going through those pieces, but just for everybody to understand that these are the materials we'd like for you: this case presentation form and the corresponding thing for you guys to actually fill out and fax into us then in order for us to schedule you for a session. So please start to think about those and get those to us as soon as possible. But are there other questions with regards to the logistics of how you submit a case, or what key information we would like to hear during a case presentation?
I see there's a question from Kellen about whether or not you can type into the forms. So I'd like to know that too. Are you sending out PDF documents, or are you sending out Word documents for these forms?
They'll be posted online in PDF, so that individuals can print them out, and then I will electronically send them to you in Word format, so the individuals can fill them out in Word. And then towards the end of the session, once we decide what information we don't want, we'll actually create some fillable forms that will be available online. But you guys will have access to both versions.
Thanks.
And this is Sandy. Eventually, this will tie to a database as well, but that will all be post the pilot. So the information you tie here, or provide us here, will then go to a database that will track the cases across time. And then we may be asking you for updates on that student because we won't know who it is.
Right. What other questions? Okay. Well, we thought it would be a good opportunity, even though the actual case presentation that you'll be viewing is from a chronic pain clinic, to see how an actual case presentation works in an echo clinic. So some of us have actually had the opportunity to participate in an echo clinic, but if you haven't, this I think is the most powerful thing to actually see how are the spokes, how are the sites and the providers out at the actual sites interacting with the hub, how are those questions? So this will take a minute to pull up, just because of the fact that it's a YouTube video. You guys actually can't have access to this. I can't send this. I can't. They've only allowed us to view it during a short period of time because Project Echo is not posting their case presentations like we hope to post. So.
Kenyon, while you're doing that, I think it's appropriate for me to say that we'd really like feedback about the case presentation forms. You saw the basic form that we'll fill out for every single case, but there are, as Kenyon mentioned, associated forms depending on your area of concern. We're thinking that over time we can consolidate some of that information, make it a little bit more concise, and still keep it useful. But for now, what happened was we got permission from, so there's an example of one, for communication, which I believe is the longest one. We got permission from the WADI folks and Penny Reed, who was the initiator of these forms, to pretty much use them as they are. But we'd love feedback on how they work for you and whether or not you feel like it's providing useful information to the Echo session, as well as whether or not it's a doable thing.
Yeah, and currently we've, these are, to speak to Kellen's question, these will be posted on the website in PDF, and then will be sent to the members of the pilot currently right now in Word. And then as we get feedback, as Gail mentioned, we'll adjust those so that you'll hopefully have fillable forms. And then, you know, down the road, as Sandy mentioned, we'll have a database that will hopefully be able to capture all of this information. So
a lot of the activities of the pilot are really to find out what works. So we're thrilled that you're all with us, helping us find out what works. But please don't feel like you should, you know, not say anything because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or something. We really don't know at this point, and we want to make it as smooth and as easy for everybody as possible.
Sharing the video, you're more than welcome to go ahead and continue watching the rest of the video, and we will soon have our own cases to begin discussing. So I'll pull back up the presentation.
I don't have to worry there wasn't
Okay.
anything else, Andy, just
Okay.
questions. So
There's more chat. Eric, I couldn't make it full screen. Sorry.
That's no big deal.
So I think with that being said, what questions do you guys have with regards to the process, the outcomes, anything with regards to the case-based presentations? As I said, I'll send you a fillable electronic Word after the session is finished, and you will have access to the PDF, and you can share those with your districts directly from our Project Echo website. There's a section that says session materials, and it will include all of these pieces.
okay. And I had a couple of comments, but are there any questions about the overall project or anything else?
I've got a question.
Yes.
So when you're on the phone calling in, how do you get attention to know that you need to ask a question or make a comment?
Correct. So when we said the ground rules were to actually signal, that's a really good point. So when you're on the phone, you actually probably can just start speaking. You know, just use as an opportunity to interrupt, or if there's a pause in the conversation, please feel free. I mean, Leslie, you've got a perfect example of this. I believe you're one of the only ones that we can't see a video of you, but it would be more than appropriate for you to step in. We don't want to make it seem as formal as the video etiquette sounds. At the same point in time, we want to limit the amounts of those conversations that are occurring because we're doing so much over the course of an hour and a half. So great question.
And I'll add that as a facilitator, I will be asking if there's questions from the phone lines as well. So I will make sure to do that.
The chat feature is great. Olivia has asked, can we bring cases forward about implementation? Gail, you can talk about this if you'd like, but definitely we're looking for any of those cases along kind of that continuum from new assessments to, I just have a really quick question. One of the examples that we are using quite a bit is you guys ask phenomenal questions about students on your listserv. And those are the questions that we want to see in the sessions. Well, what works? I've been thinking about this, I've tried this, but can somebody give me a recommendation? That's exactly, you know, a perfect example of what would work in this sort of setting to get ideas. You just get them in person instead of in writing.
And Olivia's added some information to her initial question, which was, can we talk about implementation? And then she said, we've got lots of sessions on how to use Bookshare, but teachers still aren't feeling willing to implement them. So that really brings up two things in my mind, and the people in the Project Echo room should chime in too. But let me say, one of the things that we are anticipating is that a lot of the questions will be about implementation. As a field, we've gotten pretty good at identifying technology that might be useful for kids and doing trial periods that demonstrate how assistive technology might be useful. But we know that about 70% of the cases where things go really badly with assistive technology are about failure to do good implementation. So I think implementation questions will come up, and they're important ones and wonderful ones to share ideas with. The trick, I think, is going to be
keeping it focused on the student and strategies that you might help teachers to implement. What we don't want to end up with is case studies about teachers. So I don't even know how to say that really well, other than to you know, what we'll be doing is brainstorming about other things that might be tried in the setting, so that kids can be successful. And how about other people got other things to say about that?
Were there other questions on the chat? No, that was it. A couple things I wanted to bring up is include the 15-minute introduction at the beginning of every session. That's when we'll also give announcements as well. So we really, and because we will have people observing from here, we will have other observers, it will be important to do the introductions, but it'll be much more simplified. We'll just ask for your name and your association. They won't be in depth. We just wanted you, all of you, to know who each other, you know, what you're bringing to the table. Next week, I apologize. It's the only week I won't be here. I will be on a plane, but as soon as I land in DIA, I will join the audio line. So Gail and Canyon have agreed to facilitate, and I'll thank them in advance, and hope that maybe JP could help with the screen or things like that here, because I think we need a lot of, as much support as we can. And when Canyon was saying that on the form you could, you know, select your date and time of presentation. Obviously, we can't guarantee that you will get your preferred slot, but we'll try and meet your request. And I guess the only other thing I want to add is that Gail said, please give us your feedback on the forums. We would like your feedback on everything. The process, the sessions. I've asked people to remain here when we're done here, and we'll sort of, today went well and didn't go well. please, please, please send it to the Project Echo email or to me or to Canyon. We want to hear from you. We need to know what we need to change so that in September we can broaden our efforts.